Hello everyone, and welcome to another Sims 4 Shell Challenge. Once again, I'm using a base made by LilSimsie, so thank you for that, and let's get into the build. For this one, I started out with a very basic floor plan of the four main areas: the bedroom, bathroom, kitchen and dining, and the skills room. I tried to focus on one thing at a time when I was building, but you'll see that I do go back and forth quite a bit towards the end of the speed build. Starting off with the bedroom, I knew I wanted to work with something other than a green palette, as the last speed build I did had a very green theme with a lot of plants. Instead, I tried to mix a lot of purples and the minty aqua colour from the spotty wallpaper, especially as a feature wall in the bedroom, as well as a matching plain wall using that same green colour, and I also ended up using it out in the kitchen, dining, and hallway area. Another thing I wanted to use was the pastel pop kit. I love the soft colours in this one, and I went with a matching green frame bed and matching desk from these kits, although it did take me a while before choosing the bed. Next, I added the kids' purple bookshelf to the corner, and turns out that's not stackable. I wish it was, honestly, because I would have tried stacking some in that corner next to the bed. Once again, took a while to decide the pieces of furniture and went through so many desk chairs before settling on one. As for the clutter on the desk, I used the pastel pop computer in a pink and purple swatch, the bunny bookends, a salt rock lamp, nail polish sets, and some more things that I add later. I added star fairy lights to the wall above the bed and some art supplies to the bedside bookshelf. Then, on the opposite wall to the bookshelf, I found this really cool bay window that I put in the dark brown swatch later on. Now, I get that it's a window, but it looks like there's room for small clutter objects to sit there, right? Or is that just me? Anyway, I settled on some base game curtains and a plant on the windowsill, as well as a wall-mounted plant in the corner. Back to the desk, I added an empty bust mannequin to the top shelf, some posters to the wall beside it, and a simple purple rug underneath. Following on, I wanted to knock out the bathroom because honestly, I don't really know how to make them look cool. It's a bathroom, it just needs the essentials, so I was really unsure what to do with this, and if anyone has any ideas on how to flesh out a bathroom, I'm open to ideas and constructive feedback. Anyway, I did add the pastel pop mirror shelf above the sink, and it took a while to find a good window to put on that wall. I spent so long trying to find a nice wall covering for the window, but I ended up giving up on it later. Out into the hallway, I started with the genderqueer flag and a shelf set below. On this display, I plan to use some jewellery and crystals from the Crystal Creations pack and the base game because I love the way these look. But to think it over, I decided to work on the kitchen and dining, although there isn't much space for an eating area. Initially, I considered using the kitchen bench and island from the new base game set, but I wasn't sure if they'd end up blocking the front door that I'd put in later. So instead, I put a small table and 2 chairs against the wall adjacent to the bedroom. One thing I didn't realize until reviewing the footage for this video was that I originally used a non-matching set of wall cabinets for the kitchen, but I do go and change this later. Above the dining table, I put a small shelf and a deco wall phone, and the 3-frame art of pink and green plants. Back at the end of the hallway, I tried doing a mix of earrings, bracelets, and crystals to decorate the display, but I ended up going with 3 necklace mannequins, crystals and metals from the base game, and Crystal Creations. You'll see me try quite a few times in this build to use the shelves from Pastel Pop on some of the walls, but I honestly couldn't find a way to fit it in cohesively. As we reach roughly halfway through this speed build, I wanted to give you guys a small life update with a lovely local natural disaster. See, if you can't tell on my voice alone, I'm Australian, and unfortunately for me, I live on the east coast over here. What makes this unfortunate is Cyclone Alfred, currently is Category 2 at the time of recording and editing, and this thing sucks. Personally, I've never experienced a natural disaster to this severity. I wasn't impacted by the 2011 floods, and any other disasters impacting my country haven't impacted me because they didn't happen where I was. However, I wanted to let you know that I am safe and sound and all our furniture is now dragged inside the house until this blows over. In the meantime, I'm going to keep making content and working on my own video game projects, and hopefully I won't lose power over the next few days. Back to the speed build, I heavily crowded the skill room or art room, focusing on the gemology and painting skills. The gemology table is against one wall with some sketches above it and the cross-stitch box on one side, and the easel in the corner next to the wash basin and improvised studio pedestal from the artist studio kit. Paintbrush clutter and a shelf go on one wall, and that's where I leave that room for now. I struggled for quite a while to put a doorway where I initially wanted in the hallway next to the gem and jewellery display, but I end up adding some walls to extend the hallway and use the hidden door bookcase to create a secret art studio. I move the cabinet and its items against the corner wall on the inside and add some wall decor, and finally finish that room for the time being. One thing you'll see me struggle with is trying to create that hallway in the first place. What I hadn't realised was that early on in the build, shortly after I placed the shell from the gallery, the house had somehow moved up to the first floor rather than being connected to the ground, and therefore wouldn't let me add walls because they were on a different level. It took me over half an hour to work that out, as well as closing and reopening the game so many times that I didn't actually notice my video had stopped recording at some point because I ran out of disk space on my computer. But don't worry, you can see that I fixed everything and removed that from the speed build so you wouldn't get too bored. I briefly tried to furnish the outside, but I was not prepared for this. I'm not the greatest at furnishing things like gardens, but I wanted to use this specific fence to create a closed-off garden with the gem tree which I snagged off the gallery. But to do that, I first had to go back inside and fix the upper kitchen cabinets like I said I would. This new base game set is plain and simple and so much nicer than the cheapest cabinets. I put this little potted plant shelf in with the extra space next to the fridge before going back outside and having to redo the roof. As you can tell, I had a lot of struggle with this game during the recording. Finally, I was able to work on the front garden like I initially planned. I had some hedges and purple flowers beneath the windows and some wisteria flowers around the door for a slightly overgrown look. I also found this really nice set of potted plants to put outside the front door. I also chose to put daisies along the path with some rocks and put a mailbox to one side along these plants. Speaking of the mailbox, why are all of the mailboxes in this game kinda ugly? I honestly don't like them, and I would much rather see some new ones added to the base game. With a little back and forth, I finally worked on the side garden for this witchy style home. I got the crystal tree off the gallery and decorated around it with some stones from the pathway, as well as some terrain paint flowers and regular flowers. I did have a bit of debate about using the bonfire, but decided a sized down fountain would look a lot nicer. I would want to use the bonfire in a future video though, so keep an eye out for that one later down the line. I also added Grimm's bike near the front door after I'd originally planned to have it lean against the fence next to where I would later put the gate. I end up moving the garbage bin to the other corner of the yard and put a table next to the bedroom window with the crystal charging mat on top. It literally fits perfectly and has a similar swatch to the wooden tabletop that it originally had. After adding some more flower bushes to either side of the gate, I redid the pathway using the stone brick terrain paint to create a path from the front door to the edge of the lot, as well as from the garden gate to that main pathway. For finishing touches, I added a wind chime next to the front door and some ivy up the garden walls, large dirt patches and plant pots, and a picnic basket under the crystal tree. Finally, with the mailbox in place, this build was complete. You can find this build on the gallery as Purple Witch Home, and my creator name is Lady Lilibug42. Thank you again to LilSimsie for another shell challenge. I had a great time with this one, and if any of you have any other shell challenge suggestions, please leave them down below. I loved making this one, and I hope you enjoyed watching me build it. But with that, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye!